Will artificial intelligence, whether it's general artificial intelligence or otherwise, will AI replace humans? Will artificial intelligence replace human beings? That's what I want to talk about in this video. So no tutorials on how to use AI tools, although you might be interested in that. We'll have plenty more of those types of things. I want to talk to you about this idea because today I wrote this post on LinkedIn, and I intend to elaborate on this for the article next week on the newsletter. But for now, let me try sum it up as follows. So there's a big concern that generative artificial intelligence, these large language models, are somehow becoming aware of themselves, that they're becoming conscious. And I have a real problem with this. Perhaps not conscious in the same way that we would consider ourselves conscious, awake, aware of ourselves, capable of metacognition and so forth, but conscious in the sense that they have goals and that they pursue those goals at risk, some would say, Geoffrey Hinton for one, at risk of human welfare. And I have a problem with this because, first and foremost, it's anthropomorphism at the extreme. And lying behind that, even if people who talk about general AI, general artificial intelligence, artificial general intelligence, whatever way you want to put it, are convinced of that by how human-like these machines behave, they seem to forget that these are simply machines, that they are made of gold and copper and circuit boards and silicon and all kinds of other pieces of material. And to suggest that somehow this material could become conscious of itself, even in a similar way, even if they're not suggesting that they will in the same way human beings will, if they're suggesting that they will pursue their own survival over the survival of everything around them, or seek to become symbiotic with the rest of reality, is grossly naive, because it suggests, you might as well be suggesting that your toys can come alive at night and walk around while you're asleep, and that, you know, a microwave could become conscious of itself. It's ridiculous, because these LLMs are built, they're built with software and hardware. So they are built with silicon and gold and base metals and rare minerals and so forth. And this idea is just ludicrous to me, because consciousness doesn't arise out of material things. This idea that first there was material, and somehow all that material got together, and through the course of evolution, animals and people and plants and stuff began to evolve, and somehow then the material became conscious. It's a nonsense, because to me that's not how it works. And to a lot of other people, that's not how it works either. Because we know there is no stuff. That's the first problem. We know that the idea of things, of little ball-bearing like pieces of material, miniature pieces of material floating around in the universe is not true. We know that since Richard Feynman, 1940s, and his work on quantum field theory. All we have is a field, is an excited field. It's more like a fuzzy TV screen than it is real hard things. The table is hard by virtue of my hand, right? A stone is hard by virtue of my hand that holds it. It's not hard to something that might crush the stone. It's soft. Do you get what I'm saying? So we know there is no stuff. We know there is simply a field. And what we call electrons, what we call material things, are merely excited aspects of the field. And those stimulated variables in the field, when you stand back from them far enough, they look like people and they sound like people like you and me. And so to suggest that somehow material things can produce consciousness is a nonsense. So general artificial intelligence arising out of more silicon chips, more points of data, more intersections between nodes on a network that operate based on statistical analysis of data is a nonsense. And to be quite honest with you, I really don't know how supposedly intelligent people can come up with this crazy kind of stuff. Now, that doesn't suggest that these tools aren't handy. They're very handy. They can create slide decks for me when producing a presentation. They can run a summary on a number of documents. They can, through agents, you can have it, post to your social accounts and buy tickets for the movies and stuff. So they're handy, and they help us get stuff done more efficiently. But to suggest that they somehow will solve all the world's problems for a start, or that they'll suddenly stand up and start taking over the world, I think is far-fetched. Let me try and reinforce my position a little bit. So when you think about art and you think about writing and poetry and music, I mean real art, real, from the heart, someone digging down deep inside themselves and producing something wonderful, an expression of themselves. That's exactly what it is. It's an attempt by the individual point of consciousness that is you or me. It's an attempt to say something, to say what can't be said almost, because words are never enough. So whatever we are, when we make something like a piece of furniture, or write a poem, or we paint a piece of art, or we write a piece of code for an application, a solution to a problem, or whatever it is you make, that it's, and when we do so for its intrinsic value, for the fun and the joy and the excitement and the enthusiasm and the creativity of it in and of itself, for its own sake, that's what makes us human. And although a machine can mimic what we do, that's from the outside in. It's not from the inside out. And the machines are very good at playing human beings, but they're not and never will be, because what comes out of us is, I mean, the real stuff. I don't mean the nonsense that's produced in corporate factories that produce, crappy music and ebooks by the thousands, based on working with an AI. I mean, something from the heart, that comes out of a real human experience, and they put it on a page. It never gets to it, right? So if I write a poem, I'm not being explicit. I'm dancing around the topic. I want you to figure it out. That's why the lyrics of songs, of all good songs, the story can never be told. The artist that wrote it will be reluctant to tell you what the song's about. They want you to take your own meaning from it. And the reason being is because it can't be said. Real art, real creativity comes from something, an attempt to understand oneself and its relationship to the world. It comes out of consciousness, out of the vacuum, from the singularity. I don't want to get too metaphysical, but that's what it is. How can I not get too metaphysical? Because these are my metaphysics. This is the basis upon which I teach, I write, I make stuff, teach you how to use AI tools. Seems bizarre maybe, but the point I'm trying to get at here is, when a human being makes something and they do it from their heart, out of an attempt to try and understand something about themselves or the world, they do so in the understanding that they'll never get to the point. They'll dance around it. They'll attempt to explain it in such a way as not to be explicit. And that's what distinguishes human beings and the stuff that we make from AI, from generative artificial intelligence tools, large language models, who are designed to mimic human beings. They are statistical predictive engines. All right. So, through the statistical analysis of data, hundreds, thousands of billions of points of data, it comes to a conclusion based on the nodes in the network and the weights that they apply to the probabilities of it being A or B or A or B or C or D. So they don't create from the same place that you and I create from. That's what distinguishes us from machines. And that's why we will never be replaced unless that is, or destroyed, unless that is we destroy ourselves. Now, will AI be the end of human beings? Possibly. But it won't be because of the technology. It will be because of human beings and how we use the technology. And this is at the core of what I teach when I teach AI. When I teach AI, it is from the perspective of the human being first, the center of the conversation, using the tools to improve oneself, one's environment, maybe create a revenue stream for oneself, to be independent and not to be reliant on others. So technology in and of itself, as it's always been, is neither good nor bad. It's how it's used that counts. So in sum, the idea that somehow gold and minerals removed from the earth and made into neural networks and programmed using statistical methods can somehow become conscious is a nonsense. It's anthropomorphism at its extreme, at its worst. It's not going to happen. AI will not be the end of human beings because we are creative in the sense that it comes from the inside out. A human being, the zygote, when it develops to a multicellular organism before it becomes a fetus, it evolves from the inside out. It's not made, grows. So human beings, we're grossly naive if we think that these machines can somehow become conscious of themselves. Or, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I might prove to be wrong, but I don't think I will. What we're talking about here on my particular perspective is idealism. It's the idea that mentality, that mind is at the base of all things. Everything comes from that. Mind is fundamental. And what I am in my physical form, what you see when you stand in front of me, and what I see when I stand in front of you, is the outward expression of mind, what it looks like, what this vibration over here, these fluctuations in the field look like to you. And it's remarkable stuff to consider it. I didn't become at my fundamental level. Someone didn't put me together. I wasn't made, although how we talk about the world might convince us that that's how it works. It's not. So if you want to read more on this idea of idealism, in particular analytic idealism, Bernardo Kastrup is someone you should read. Alfred North Whitehead is someone you should read. Bishop Berkeley is someone you should read. There's many idealist philosophers that you can check out. It's my metaphysical position, and when I talk about AI, I'm talking about it as a tool in our hands, not the other way around. So AI can never be conscious for me. It's anthropomorphic to believe that it is. Nonsense, silly. Generative AIs can mimic human beings, but that's it. Human beings won't be replaced anytime soon. I'd suggest use these tools. I'd say that there's never been a time before now greater that you and I can actually use these tools to work independently and make our own money without relying on the machine of industry and capitalism to do that for us. I write about this stuff over on the newsletter. I'll post a link below where you can check it out. Also on my school, AI Skills Academy, which is why you're watching this on YouTube and elsewhere. So thanks for tuning in. More on this kind of stuff. Incidentally, it's Wednesday, the 3rd of December. On the 5th at 11 a.m., I have a free workshop on AI and how to use it in your work, talking about some fundamentals, going to answer questions and so forth. We'll be on Zoom for an hour. There's a link to that below as well. So hopefully I might see you there. Until then, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you next time.